All right, hey guys, here it is. It's a little lopsided because I got the tripod kind of stuck in some sand. But I have finally decided to make my how to find a nanny video. And there's a bunch of people that are asking like, oh my gosh, I need a nanny. Because it's a thing here in Mérida. It's a big thing to have a nanny when you have children about, I guess, 8 and under, maybe even 10 and under. And we personally, since last year, I want to say have gone through about 4 or 5. And there are a few temps in between, and I'm not really counting them. So I guess 4 main nannies. The one we have right now, clutch, awesome. So much so I almost was nervous about making the video because I don't want it to backfire on me, you know. But let me just start by saying one way you can go about looking for them is through an agency. Now, I only recommend agencies if you're in a pinch, you need some babysitting, you're not necessarily looking for someone to get attached to your child for the moment, even though the agencies can provide long-term nannies because they typically really want to do a contract and have you in a contract. And the prices range for those. The prices are just, there's a wide range because some of them you have to pay hourly, and then you also have to include an additional fee if you decide to go out to like a birthday party or something like that, or if it's a certain day of the week. Oh, they're coming back. Are you done? All right. All right. So since the last video, I was at the beach. I was at a different beach, which is funny because here I am at the beach again trying to finally finish this daggone video about nanny situation. So there were several agencies where you can go, or there are several agencies, fairy nannies, niñeras a domicilio, niñeras this, niñeras that. There are agencies where you can go. So if you go with an agency, for example, like fairy nannies, you have a few options. You can do an on-call nanny, and the on-call nanny will run you about 90 to 100 pesos an hour. I think the rate was 90 on the website, okay, with the minimum of 3 hours. So minimum 3 hours, 90 pesos an hour, so 270 pesos for minimum to get an on-call. If you contract with them for a minimum of at least a month, at a minimum of a month contract, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, then the pay goes down, the charge goes down to 60 pesos an hour. That's fairy nannies. Now some of the other ones, they fluctuate between 70 and 60 and then 90 to 100 on the other end without the contract. But that's pretty much the going rate, the average rate for nanny services with a company. So then another way, but these nannies, though, the plus side to that is that they're vetted and they have, I guess, resumes, and you know they've been vetted through the company. So you're gonna pretty much get some quality work, quality service. I've used them, had a couple of them, and my issue was we wanted somebody more permanent in Ashland's life, and we wanted somebody that was going to feel more like our family and not like a contracted worker. Okay, so queue up websites like, I will call this a Craigslist for nannies. You have 2 sites that I am aware of that I've used, babysits.com or .mex and Sitly. Sitly is how we found our first nanny, Karen. And so with Sitly and Babysits, what you get, you have these people, they post their profiles out there, and generally these guys are students. So these are students not looking to make nannies, being a nanny their career. They're using this as a stepping stone to make work to have money to pay for school. So they are typically going to charge a little more. One, because they're students and they're more educated sometimes, because there are times when you get, well, I'll get into that. But I've seen rates from as low as 40, and then those were the ones like, I've never nannied before, but I want to be your nanny, but then you got to pay transportation, etc., etc. But that's like very few and far in between. but as high as them requesting up to $120 an hour. So the average, because 40 is very, I said I've seen them, but it's not that often you see it. Average is about 70 to 90, kind of like the services of ferry nannies or any of these others contracted, these other companies. The difference is that they're getting that money. So with the company, think about it. If ferry nannies is charging 90 pesos, the nanny herself is going to get probably about 45, you know. But when you go to the websites like Sitly or Babysit, these guys, they can provide you a resume and references, maybe, but they haven't been vetted through a company per se. So, and they're students, so they're not in it for the long term. They are typically just trying to make some money to get them through the next step. So that's another option. It's not a bad option. The only reason we lost Karen was because the pandemic hit. She moved to Mexico City with her family, and she's been back to visit since, and we still have a good relationship, but she's not able to stay in Mérida and work for us. So another way you can go about finding a nanny is, of course, word of mouth, but there are people that live outside of the main city that live in small pueblos, and they post in places like, there's a website or a Facebook page, Servicios Domésticos, and they will post that they're looking for work. And that's the way we found our current nanny, and we found another one that lives, when they live, okay, let me back up. I'm sorry to be jibber-jabbering, but let me back up for a minute. When you have someone that lives outside of the city and they're in like a pueblo, 40 minutes to an hour or so out, that's when you're gonna end up typically hiring a live-in nanny. That's where you're gonna find your live-ins. The students, they probably won't live in with you because they live with their parents and they're commuting back and forth to school. This is pre-pandemic when they were in person. But the ones in the pueblo, they're not expecting to go back and forth an hour or so every day to come and work. They're expecting to live with you. And I don't know how many of the house videos you've seen. Monty's posted some, and people have them all over. Many of the homes here in Mérida, they automatically have a service quarters place in the house. So when they count the bedrooms, they don't even count that because it's typically designed for either your live-in staff, your housekeeper, your nanny, whomever that lives with you, and that's their room, and they have their own private bathroom as well. And so that's what we did. Hi, I know. Here we go again. So here is the situation that we have with our nanny. We have a live-in that we found on the Servicios Domestico page in Mérida, Facebook. And she posted a request for work, and I contacted her, and she lives in a small town not too far from Mérida. I think it's about a 45-minute drive to go, and one way. Okay, her mom brings her Monday mornings at 10 o'clock. She starts at 10 o'clock Monday mornings, and she stays all the way through Saturday early afternoon between 12 and 1 o'clock. Each day she works 8 hours, so from 10 to 2, then a short break between 2 and 4, and that's typically Ashlyn's nap time or learning time. And then she picks back up at 4, from 4 to 8, so that's 8 hours. And 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday is 40 hours, and then like a 2.5 on Saturdays because she only works from like 10 to 12 on Saturdays. So 42 hours a week, and we pay her 1,500 pesos, or roughly $60, or 6,000, which is about 300 a month for our live-in. So that is an excellent rate, and we get the benefit of having her with us and always building that Spanish-speaking relationship with Ashlyn because she only speaks to Ashlyn in Spanish. You may seem like, wow, that's super low. Wait a minute, but it does include her lodging with us during that time and all meals, meaning 3 meals a day, and not just basic meals a day. I mean, we eat out a lot, and so when we're out in the restaurants, she's right there with us ordering whatever she wants to order. And she has access to any other food in the house when we have food in the house. when we have food in the house. I mean, we have basic food in the house, but y'all get what I'm saying. She's not suffering by any stretch on the eating end, I'll tell you that. And her living space, she has her own room, her own full bathroom, and what else can I tell you? That's our situation. Her mom comes back and picks her up, so we don't have to worry about transportation like we did with the one we had before. We had did I talk about that earlier? I don't know. We had one that used to live with us and got homesick. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier before I switched clips. And that driving back and forth to her pueblo, which was about an hour and a half, it cost us about $50 a month in gas. So we don't spend that in transportation for her. And we just absolutely love her and life is good. And we've taken her on trips with us. We plan on even possibly bringing her to the States when we come in the spring. We'll see how that goes. And it's just been a wonderful experience. So I highly recommend getting a live-in if you can through means of word of mouth or the domestic service pages over going through a contracted service nanny that's in and out every day, especially during the pandemic right now, because you know, we kind of want to keep a handle on the flow of people in and out of the house and their contact exposure. All right, questions, leave them in the comments, and I hope I answered a lot of them. If not, I'm sorry, I did the best I could. All right, guys, bye.